What are you drinking in that cup?
This is a pistachio latte.
Okay. I chugged a caramel macchiato, so I'm really curious what sounds my stomach's going to make over our coming conversation. I assume you have something else up your sleeve. Go on.
I do have something else stuck up my sleeve. It's jammed up there.
Okay, pull it out.
Up the sleeve.
Pull it out.
This is SilverPod, episode 1. I am Hunter Johnson. I am the artistic director of Silverstage Theater Company, based in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. And here I have with us EVIN MCQUISTIon.
That's true. That's me.
Evan, you are also a person.
I'm also a person. I'm none of the things that you said you were. But I am a person. I do a lot of random assorted theater things.
Yeah, why?
Why?
Why would you do this?
It's like you were possessed by the spirits of my parents. They're like, let's really crack down.
What would cause you to go this direction in life?
I really don't have a good reason. A lot of people in theater that you'll talk to will be like, I really needed an escape because I just...
it wasn't the escape for you?
I mean, I did like the escape aspect, but I had a very happy childhood and I have very supportive parents, which is not a universal trait you'll find in theater people. So I really don't have an excuse. I should be a lawyer or something. I should be something respectable.
Did you consider a different route?
Would I ever consider a different route?
Well, I said did you, but I guess would you?
Would you or could I? I think I've gone through life waiting for a more traditional life to appear before me, and I have never been taken off in that route. So I've just been, well, I guess I'm a theater artist, and I guess that's just how this life is shaping up for me.
Nobody ever told me that this was a route I could do. I don't know if that was something that anybody ever told you. Like when I was a kid, I was told not much of anything, just that I would pick a career one day, or that I could go to college and figure out then, or whatever I wanted, really.
Did you get a lot of, oh, you're such a imaginative kid? Did you get a lot of that growing up?
No, I got a lot of, where did this come from? This isn't in your family at all. Okay. Nobody in my family did theater as a career. Some of my siblings did some shows, and I watched them do some shows in high school.
Okay.
And they were lovely. It was great to watch. But I don't know where. I think I just kept doing it, and one day I realized I hadn't stopped.
So that's really where I am, too. It feels like I slipped, tripped, and fell into a very non-lucrative industry.
Not
where everyone
lucrative.
is like, why? How did you end up here? And I'm like, I really don't know. I never stopped. I'm having a lot of fun. I enjoyed a lot, but yeah.
Okay. So do you call yourself an actor?
I mean, I'm an actor sometimes. I mean, look.
Like if someone who isn't in theater asks you what you do, what do you tell? What's the talking to a 3-year-old kind of sentiment?
I guess I say I'm in theater. The easiest way to, if anything,
movie theater.
The theater. If anything, I would say I'm an actor, I suppose.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's generally what I go with. Or I'll tell someone that I'm a stage actor. That gives a little bit more clarity for
because they were always like, anything I've seen you in, it's like, unless you've been to this one storefront theater in Chicago during these few weeks, during this month, no.
So Chicago,
it's a city.
You've been there for how long?
I've been in Chicago since I graduated in 2018. So 7-ish years?
7 years in Chicago, acting that whole time?
Pretty much, yes. Yeah, pretty much acting the entire time. And then
also on stage.
Yes. Are you saying I've been pretending to be someone else this entire time?
Whose identity did you take?
You introduced me as EVIN MCQUISTIon. I'm like, oh, that's who I am today. All right,
I pronounced your last name correctly, right?
McQuistion, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's you said it, and I remember having a moment of being like, "Oh, that was impressive." So
nice.
Yeah, you did it.
I could try out some other
variations.
Other variations.
I get McQuestion a lot. I get McQuinston a lot.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like saying question and cushion at the same time.
McQuist Ion.
That's like my year 3000 counterpart, where I have a robot arm.
Yeah, if you were in... Are you familiar with Otherworld Theater Company?
Yeah.
In Chicago?
Yeah,
Have
yeah.
you worked with them before?
No, I know you did a show there with Trey. You did like Trade Federation? That's what it was?
Yes, Trade Federation with Trey Plutnicki. Shout out Trey Plutnicki. He was on Squid Game.
He was.
He was on the reality TV show.
Squid Game: The Challenge. Something that my brother has seen. You know what my brother hasn't seen? Me act in like a decade.
So, Otherworld Theater Company does an ongoing Star Trek serial, like stage show.
Yeah,
so
I've seen...
It's improvised Star Trek comedy, essentially.
Yeah.
But if you were on, you could be McQuist Ion.
I thought you were going to say you could be Jean-Luc Picard because you are bald, which is true. Jean-Luc Picard is probably part of the reason why I have gone as far into theater in Shakespeare as I have. So, that would be a bit of a homecoming for me.
Jean-Luc Picard is why you do theater?
I have written essays to that effect.
Because of Star Trek?
Because of Star Trek.
You're not talking about Patrick Stewart. We're talking about Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, who is played by Sir Patrick Stewart. Big
Trekkie?
Yeah, pretty big Trekkie. When I was like 14, I started getting into Star Trek. It was kind of in the resurgence of popularity Star Trek had in 2008 with the J.J. Abrams movie with Chris Pine, Zachary Quinto, that whole cast.
Fun movie.
Very, very fun movie. Dumb as hell. Very fun movie.
I like the part where the kid drives a car off a cliff, but then he doesn't fall off the cliff.
Well, he gets carried with the inertia a little bit. You see, he jumped. He does get kind of carried away. The physics of it, that doesn't bother me. But that shot is like ingrained in my brain, and I know the exact shot you're talking about. And I'm like,
yeah,
maybe James T. Kirk should have died that day.
I actually like the third one best.
Star Trek Beyond, yeah. Star Trek Beyond
good old
is
Idris.
a jam. Yeah, Idris with all his makeup effects on him. That's like the most traditionally Star Trek-y of those new Star Trek movies.
Yeah, it's like, let's just have an excuse to put a bunch of them in the same room and then like mix it up. It's like every 10 minutes, it's like, what would it be like for these two characters to interact? And they just do that on repeat for 2 hours straight.
It's always fun when Bones and Spock are being an old married couple somewhere. And you don't usually have them like separated from Kirk to kind of balance them off. So just seeing them have to do like a camping trip from hell is a lot of fun.
But you brought up J.J. Abrams' Star Trek. Because there was a resurgence for you when that came out, or what?
Well, just culturally, that was when there was a resurgence for Star Trek. There was a bunch of...
You were out here being like, where have you all been?
No, this is when I started getting into it. My dad was always the Trekkie, like watching reruns of the original series. He was a really big TNG guy. That's the Next Generation for the uninitiated. But when...
More of an original series guy?
He was a TNG guy, but he did know a lot of TOS. That's the original series.
TOS.
Yeah, TOS. He was really into that. But a lot of DVDs were being cycled around because CBS, who has the rights for it,
did you guys have all the VHS growing up? Like those giant box sets.
We had like random VHSs where, and this is a similar thing to what they did with the DVDs later, which is how I got into it, where they would have like themed episodes bundled together. So there would be like, here's a VHS with like some of the comedic Star Trek episodes, like Trouble of Tribbles. Here's some with some Klingon episodes together. Here's some with some Romulan episodes together. And then they would do that again with some DVD releases where they would have like all the... There's a character named Q who's very puckish, to tie this into our whole Shakespeare comp. A very puckish figure, where like a bunch of Q episodes would be compiled together, so you could kind of watch every episode that Q's in. There was like a Borg collection, which was a big villain from the TNG era. Yeah. I think another one was about like mirror dimensions, where there's like the evil dimension where everyone is... You have like the same characters, so like you have Uhura and Kirk and Spock, but the evil versions of them, where they're sexy and have goatees and show a lot more skin.
Sexy evil Spock?
There is. Well, that's just Spock, am I right? But like, I swear I was going to tie this to theater, but like,
Well,
to talk about
coming
Spock
back to
real
Jean-Luc
quick.
Picard eventually.
We'll get back to Jean-Luc Picard and
This is going to
how
wrap
that
back
doomed me
around.
to theater.
Yeah.
But Spock's evil version. The episode is called Mirror Mirror. And he's
Anne Hathaway.
Spock's an emotionless Vulcan who he's like a pure stoic. He sees everything through purely logical means. So you ask yourself, what is the opposite of that? Well, I don't know. Hunter, you're familiar with this episode? Tell me what's the opposite of Spock?
The opposite of Spock?
Yeah.
I usually would say Kirk.
You would think that. You would think that the opposite of Spock is like a hyper emotional, like, I don't know.
Charismatic kind of guy.
I mean, Spock's got some charisma. I mean, you don't get as much AO3 as that character does without some inherent charisma, but you would think he'd be like Temper from Inside Out or whatever,
Sure.
where he's like blowing his lid all the time.
So what did they do?
They're like, well, there is no opposite of Spock because Spock is neutral. So it's like a D&D alignment chart where instead of like the opposite of lawful good is lawful evil or chaotic evil. Instead they're like, well, Spock's true neutral, so there is no opposite of true neutral. He's still neutral Spock.
So it's just the same guy
but with a goatee.
and sexier.
I mean, that's your mileage on goatees, but I mean, yeah, he's still. I'd say he's Leonard Nimoy. He's got his sex appeal.
Yeah.
Do you want me to try to thread this back to Patrick Stewart now?
So all of this was to say,
Or do you want to talk about sexy Spock? We can talk about sexy Spock.
Jean-Luc Picard, more so than Patrick Stewart, is why you're in theater. I'm pretty sure that's what you started this with.
Yes, Jean-Luc Picard is
Because of all his Shakespeare quotes and stuff?
Yeah, essentially. He's a very well-read, genteel Frenchman who's just the most British Frenchman you'll ever meet in your life. He's always drinking Earl Grey tea. He's always quoting, like, Shakespeare,
Yeah.
Charles Dickens, Arthur Conan Doyle.
Was that a Patrick Stewart thing? Like, did he infuse that?
I assume they cast him and were like, well, we have this big figure from the English stage. I guess it'd be kind of silly if we didn't acknowledge this kind of Shakespeare
or
DNA.
he just didn't get the memo, and it was never in the script.
I've memorized all of Love's
he's
Labour's
just-
Lost. And
he's just bringing it in all the time.
well, look, any opportunity they have for Patrick Stewart to deliver Shakespeare, they take. And they also have Brent Spiner, who plays Data in Android. They teach Data how to be human through the works of Shakespeare.
So you're like 13, 14, J.J. Abrams' Star Trek comes out.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then that leads you to the older Star Trek.
Yeah.
You find Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah, which my
love of your
father
life.
was thrilled about.
Right,
He was like,
your father-
finally, I can infect one of my children with Star Trek.
And had you acted yet at that point?
Oh, yeah. I first fell into acting. What I always say is when I was 2 years old, I spent a year of my life on all fours meowing like a cat because I really liked The Lion King, and that's kind of where it started, and everything's been a natural arc from that.
Yeah, I think starting at that point can lead to plenty of other directions besides theater.
Like serial murder. Yeah, you're right.
Right. Or a cat person.
Or a cat, which I am. I am a cat
You
person
are a
as well.
walking cat.
I am a walking cat. I went on 2 feet from there on. I stopped crawling.
Good for you.
But yeah, I mean, I did plays in school. My first role was as a bug in a school play, which I don't remember. I still remember my line. It was only one line. Every kid wanted it, so they gave it to 2 kids, myself and a friend of mine, and we had to say it in unison. And it was like some bug was looking around trying to find someone to help him. And I don't know. I guess it was sort of like a Good Samaritan kind of parable where you're like looking for a helper. It's good to help your friends do something. And he went up to me, and me and my friend had the best line in the show, which was, "Quit bugging me." And, you know, kindergartners, they lost their mind. It's like, this is high comedy.
Yeah.
This is so funny. And really everything's been downhill from there.
Sure. Yeah. Speaking of downhill from there, let's talk about our show. So we're doing Much Ado About Nothing. We got our poster right here.
Yeah.
Billy Shakes. Much Ado About...
Who's that?
Billy Shakes.
Billy Shakes?
Wilbur Shakespeare.
Not familiar.
Liam.
Hemsworth.
Liam.
This is really good. I didn't mean to
Liam
derail you.
Pear.
Go on. Yes.
Liam
Much Ado
Pear.
About Nothing, a comedy written
Much
by
Ado About
William
Nothing.
Shakespeare.
You are playing Don John as well as the character of Seacoal.
I would say I'm playing Seacoal
Yeah,
as well as
I think
Don
we can
John.
set Don John aside and just focus on Seacoal here a second.
Absolutely. What's going on with that dude? He can read and write?
So we did. You know what? Oh, let's talk about Seacoal. We took all of the Watchmen and narrowed them and just combined them all into one character. I
Yeah.
think it's the only named Watchman in Shakespeare's version of the show. His unabridged version of the show. I could be wrong on that, but we wrapped them all into one character and gave that to you because also William Shakespeare decided that Don John, the main villain of the show, would just kind of yeet himself out of there halfway through.
Yeah, Shakespeare doesn't like having his villains explain their motives too much beyond, like, they'll have a monologue where they say, this is my grand philosophy on life, and they just try to, they live their life accordingly. It's very similar to Iago, where it's like you should cultivate your life in a certain way and then, live for your own personal benefit. And if something gets in the way of that, maybe you should kill that whatever it is that's in your way.
Yeah. So tell me about these characters. How do they impact you? Where do you come from in portraying them? Are you going full mustache twirly villain mode?
Well,
what's the goals here?
When you brought me on, you did specifically say you didn't want me to go into the direction of full, like, cackling, campy Vincent Price villainy, and play like a true realistic portrayal of villainy with Don John. Don John is just, it's like I was saying earlier. He says exactly what he is all about. Where he's saying, look, I am the way I am, and I resent it when anyone tells me that I should be something else. He has this conversation with Conrad earlier on where that's all that it's about. Or Conrad, you're going to be so impressed. It's like Kirk, Spock, and Bones, where they're kind of like one character split into three people. Brachio, Don John, and Conrad are likewise kind of one character split into three. Who's who?
Wait, you're saying Kirk, Spock, and Bones?
Well, in the way that they're like one functioning brain, where Kirk is the balance, Bones is the emotion, and Spock is the logic, and Kirk balances the two of them.
Right,
but
so
together,
who's who? Is Kirk Don John, or is it a different kind of... Is someone else the lead?
I guess Conrad is Spock, Brachio / Brachio, however you want to pronounce it, is
Borchko.
Is Bones. And Kirk would be Don John. And if I sat down and thought about it, I'm sure I could write like 500 words on that. But I think they're like, it's kind of like they're one character split into three.
That's cool. I've never thought about that trio in that way before.
Yeah. They're also kind of a dark mirror to what's going on with Benedick, Don Pedro, and Claudio, where you have the brothers are very naturally foils to each other. Yeah. They both like messing with people. Don John takes it in a very dark direction and malicious direction. Don Pedro is just looking for a good time.
Yeah.
Beyond that, I don't know how neatly you could map like Benedick, Brachio, Conrad, Claudio.
I will say I see a lot of similarities between Benedick and Don John.
Okay, how so?
So I see them both as these really bored and they feel misunderstood by everyone around them, and they act out on that in different ways.
Benedick's a bit more of a conformist, I would say, because he plays into being a clown. Because you usually do that because you want people to like you, but Benedick also has these lines where he's like, "The prince is fool," and he resents that.
Yeah, he doesn't he does. I don't think
even though he does play into it.
He 100% plays into it. I don't think so I'm playing Benedick, so this is why I'm like
oh
deep
yeah,
diving.
Hunter Johnson, you play Benedick and not Seacoal. So
Not Seacoal?
not Seacoal.
A coal named
Not Seacoal. Not Seacoal.
Not
Yeah,
Seacoal.
not Cole, who is a Nazi. I'm
Right.
saying not Seacoal.
I understand.
There we go.
I
yes, you play
play
Benedick.
a Nazi named Cole and also Benedict.
I mean, our production does take place like World War II.
Right,
era,
so we've placed this in 1940s World War II era, keeping the original Shakespeare language intact. But I really see Benedict and Don John similarly. Maybe it's just in my mind. I think they both. I think Benedict doesn't care about the general traditions going on around him. I don't think he cares to conform in the sense of being like everybody else, but he does want to be accepted by everybody else.
So you're saying, in regards to like the social hierarchies going on, because you're very buddy with Don Pedro.
Yeah, and I think I often forget that he's like a prince.
And Leonardo as well, who I assume is above you in station
there's-
as well.
there's
You
a-
call him like, hey, old senior.
Right, there's a couple moments where I'm very disrespectful to the hierarchy around me. But those characters that don't then punish me for that.
Yeah.
It's almost like if I'm their jester, they kind of let it slide.
Yeah, but that's a title you also kind of resent.
Right. I don't want to be the jester.
Mm-hmm. And Don Pedro is very much, I would rather die than crack jokes and yuck it up with all these doofuses.
So Don John is one of the only characters in the show who shows zero romantic interest anywhere. Or do you see it differently?
Yeah, I mean, we're playing. Our Conrad is we're playing as a woman, and there's a bit of a flirty energy between Conrad and Don John. But I mean, yeah, he's a.
Is this what he's missing?
He just need to find a nice girl and settle down?
Right? Is he just missing like some? Is there like a void that he needs filled? I just watched Thunderbolts, and there's a lot of like talk on void and.
Well,
and,
with Century in the Void. I've
yeah,
read
the villain
comics,
of the Void,
so I'm familiar.
and not to get into a whole Thunderbolts talk, but it's kind of in my head at the moment.
Especially
is
seeing
Don
as
John,
I have not seen Thunderbolts, so
Right.
it would be very one-sided.
But is Don John just got a void that he's not putting the right, like placing in the right area?
He's in that. I mean, along with the tradition of Shakespeare's bastard characters with Edmund and
Love it.
another one that I can come up with, so that we have a rule of threes. Falconbridge, sure, Falconbridge. I don't know anything about Falconbridge other than his name is Falconbridge the Bastard. So,
Classic.
3. I
Who's
assume he
that
has a
from?
similar deal. That is one of the histories. I think that's King John.
The history plays are the ones I'm least familiar with.
Even like Henry IV. I feel
Yeah,
like we half start 5 ideas and then we take a sharp left turn.
No, I
don't even know if I
only
finished
I
my
only
Patrick Stewart
vaguely
bit.
I only vaguely know the history plays.
Like even Henry IV, like to Henry V, the Henriad.
Yeah, it's not my area. I always leaned towards like the comedies or the really dark like gothic dramas. I know that there wasn't gothic. I know the gothic genre wasn't invented yet. People have told me that countless times. Like Shakespeare wasn't writing.
Well, good, because I was just about to.
Shakespeare wasn't writing for the gothic genre. I get it, but it's still there's similarities. Titus Andronicus is one of my favorites. Anyway,
Do you lean more comedy than tragedy, or are they kind of the same for you?
I lean towards drama.
Okay.
But I get cast almost exclusively in comedies. So
I mean,
I think
It's
I
probably
just
psychologically healthy.
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
My parents get really annoyed when every time they see me in something, they're like, all right, you're either dying or like crying or yelling at a woman.
Yeah.
Don John, still get to do that, baby.
Do you yell at women in this play?
I mean, I'm sassy toward Hero for a second.
You are
and I'm
right though
a
that
bit of a pain with Conrad, who, like I said, we're playing it as a woman in this production.
in the opening scene of you and Conrad, it's you could see that if this was written a little differently, if Conrad was written to be a girl, then this could take a whole like twisted dark romance plot line where these are like two. This is like like a twisted romance villain duo.
Yeah. I mean, there's some lines that we cut where you listen to it and you're like, wow. Where there's something really kind of loaded to it. Like, I mean, if I had my mouth, I would bite. If I had my liberty, I would do my liking. Ooh la la. And the Joss Whedon version very much does that. I think that Conrad is also a woman in that.
Oh, really?
Version. Yeah, and they like play that in a bedroom where they're like crawling all over each other, and then Baraccio comes in. He's like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, let's start the plot, please. But yeah, the Joss Whedon version. Have you seen the Joss Whedon?
I tried.
You tried? I was gonna say, because I'm not a big fan of it. There's like little bits of seasoning in it that I. So think
my problem was it was my first introduction to Much Ado. And I had no idea what was going on. Nobody delivers any lines with any inflection. It's the least theatrical Shakespeare thing I've ever seen. And I think I would like it if I watched it now.
It's my takes on the Joss Whedon. I almost said Justice League. We're not
Joss
go
Whedon's
down that.
Justice League.
Joss Whedon's Much Ado About Nothing. I think Nathan Fillion is maybe the best Dogberry I've seen. I think he's really good. And it kind of factors into what you were saying, how he's playing it so straight.
Yeah.
Where he's saying these ridiculous things with the straightest expression.
Yeah, it is my favorite. That's why I think I would like that movie now.
Yeah.
Because at the time I watched it, I was like 14.
Yeah.
And I think it would play very differently now. I like playing Shakespeare pretty straight, which is odd because I'm caught in a little predicament here where I'm playing Benedick, but I'm playing a character that presents and puts up a front and like puts up this almost presentational style. So I'm trying to toe the line between, I prefer like delivering Shakespeare lines very directly and just plainly. David Tennant is one of my biggest inspirations on that. I love the way David Tennant does Shakespeare. It almost feels like he's speaking modern English when he delivers lines of Shakespeare.
Did you see his Richard II?
I've seen clips from it.
I've also
it's
seen
beautiful.
Clips of it. Yeah, really into it.
Heartbreaking performance. Richard II is a history play that I know.
Good, because I was gonna say it's one of my
love that one.
One of my faves. It's one of my hipster favorites that people don't do as much as the other one.
Right. So the point we were making was that Jean-Luc Picard is how you got.
I'm not going to talk. I'm going to let you guide back to whatever point it is, and I swear I'll finish it.
No, we were talking about our show. So Much Ado About Nothing. It performs May 23rd through 25th, as well as 30th through 31st at Geneva Stage in Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. So go check it out. Tickets are available at genevastage.com. And we were also on social media, Silverstage Theater Company. Shakespeare is lovely. It's lovely that it's still like accepted. Like people still show interest.
Okay, that's what you meant by it. Like, it's great that you can walk down the street saying a sonnet and people won't be like, get him.
Well, okay, why are people not tired of Shakespeare? I mean, some people certainly are.
My cynical answer is because it's in the public domain and you don't have to pay money to put it on. But I guess I can do a more flowery. I mean, the like flowery way is like because he's found a way to distill what it means to be a human, and no one's really quite cracked it the same way. There's a third one where I can kind of balance all of it together and give a real answer. Which I will.
What's your answer?
With. What's my answer?
What chord does it strike for EVIN McQuistion?
I mean, the thing about Shakespeare is he's partially a brand at this point. Where you hear the word Shakespeare, if you say that and I've done this many a time with various high school classes that I've talked to Shakespeare about. If you say, what do you think of when you think Shakespeare, you'll get a whole bunch of different associations with it. As if you were saying, like, what do you think about Superman? Or what do you think about Batman? What do you think about Spider-Man? I'm thinking about superheroes. Give me another thing that people talk about. What do you think about, I don't know, America?
Just the Roman Empire.
The Roman Empire. And how often do you think about it? A big splashy thing which has become like a brand in your mind. And with Shakespeare, you'll get responses like, oh, Shakespeare's old, he's boring, he's dusty, he's beautiful, he's funny, he's heartbreaking, he's tragic, he's dramatic, he's
Dusty?
sad. Dusty?
You said dusty.
Yeah, dusty. He's old.
I mean,
Books.
he's pretty old. Oh,
yeah, like books.
oh, the books.
Literary.
I was
you could
thinking of
also
William.
say.
And
Oh, you mean like Dusty is in the name? Like I know a guy named Dusty?
anyway,
I do know someone named
I'm
Dusty,
sending
but
us
I
way
wasn't
off track.
thinking of them.
So you were saying?
I think this is our problem, Hunter. Would you believe this is the first one of these that we've done?
Yes.
Hunter, where was I?
You were
Shakespeare,
describing the
yeah,
ways
dusty, literary. Like it's something
Right.
for English majors, not something that you see
but
on
it's
stage.
not
It's not flesh and blood.
exclusively liked by people in the literary fields or people who are theater like maybe your casual viewer on the street isn't going out of their way to read or watch Shakespeare, but
Yeah.
they still know who he is.
Yeah, you say Romeo and Juliet, they will know what you're talking about.
Correct.
Um,
Yeah. Or the ultimate version, Tromeo and Juliet.
James Gunn, Superman, in theaters this July. James Gunn worked with Troma. That's where that factor came in. I'm glad we tied superheroes into this somehow. But you'll have all these associations with Shakespeare because Shakespeare has become a brand, and Shakespeare means so many different things. It's like in IP, you're always going to have people watching a Superman movie or a Batman movie, and or like Sherlock Holmes, you'll always have that awareness. Shakespeare, Sherlock Holmes. He's a detective.
Like Detective Comics, like DC Comics.
You're not going to believe this, but he believes in the power of deduction.
Of seduction?
Not seduction. Although, ask John Watson. Who knows?
A detective who utilizes pure seduction to get his way and find the villains.
Turn on, like, I don't know, ABC for like a weeknight drama. I'm sure you'll find any number of detectives who use seduction to solve cases.
Yeah.
Like
Turner
Columbo.
Classic Movies on Film Noir at nights. And
Yeah. I mean, we're both old movie fans.
it's true.
Are you...
That's nice.
Are you a noir guy? Are you a noir head? Or are you more like...
I'm not a noir head. I could not claim...
Screwball comedies? Where do you live?
I simply... The only reason Film Noir is on the mind because I watched Double Indemnity.
Double Indemnity rules.
And I watched it a few months ago, and I can't stop thinking about it.
Spoilers for Double Indemnity, but I think it's so funny that... His name is Walter Neff, right?
Yeah.
He like has this... who does he talk to? Who's the femme fatale in that?
Barbara Stanwyck.
Yes.
Oh, the character's name? I don't remember.
Stanwyck's fine.
But Barbara Stanwyck.
Talks to her with her platinum blonde wig and like
So glorious.
heavily gets the idea that she wants him to like do her husband in. And he gets like so worked up that he goes through a montage, and one of the things he does is like, I had to blow off steam, so I went bowling. And I think that's so funny. He's like so horny and worked up. He's like, I just gotta go to a bowling alley. Just throw this ball down a lane. Otherwise, I'm gonna kill someone.
I've never seen him in that kind of role. I've never seen Barbara Stanwyck in that kind of role. I was entranced the entire time. It's now one of my favorite movies of all time.
Very unusual. Yeah.
Like, unironically.
Yeah, where Fred McMurray, Billy Wilder does this with him again in The Apartment, where he's like, you just kind of have this smug energy where you kind of want to punch you. And Fred McMurray is like, I'm an all-American man. What do you mean? I'm great. People love me. And Billy Wilder's like, it's that exact energy.
Right.
That's what I'm talking about. But yeah, Double Indemnity rules. It's great.
Nice.
I'm a big Billy Wilder fan in general.
Yeah. To answer your question more in depth beyond just the movie Double Indemnity, I grew up watching Westerns with my dad. Shout out, Dad. And I grew up watching John Wayne movies, a lot of Jimmy Stewart.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, I think we are kindred spirits in our love for Jimmy Stewart.
I've got Jimmy right behind you there. He's looking down on you at all times.
That's what I need in my life.
Just a whole stamp collection of Jimmy Stewart.
Jimmy Stewart floating over my head at all times.
Right. Jimmy Stewart is my favorite actor still. Nobody's beat him
And
for me.
he's so strange when you watch him, because who is going to sit you down in an acting class and be like, you know what you need to do? Stretch your vowels out 5 times longer than any other human being is ever going to do. And he's got like this mania that he taps into, especially in Mr. Smith Goes to Washington.
Yeah.
It gets tempered with something kind of dark in It's a Wonderful Life, especially when, spoilers for It's a Wonderful Life, a movie that came out 80 years ago, where he's sitting in martinis and he's like crying and
How
like,
did he
praying.
get in the martini glass?
Where he's in a martini glass. He's drowning. Get him out. He's tall, but he's not that tall. Get him out. But yeah, Jimmy Stewart's incredible. It's because he's so strange. It's because, and a lot of stars from that era of Hollywood, I think, have that, where you can tell they've lived a life outside of your typical actor training regimen, and they bring that in.
I had the opportunity to play George Bailey last year.
Also of Silverstage.
And several folks did ask me if I was doing the voice. And unequivocally, that was never an option.
Yeah.
Never did I consider doing the Jimmy Stewart voice. Not
That's
only because
the correct call.
Not only because I do believe it would have been distracting and like
yes, it would have.
But also because it wouldn't have been good. I would not have. Like, I could study it and probably capture it fairly well if I really put the time in.
Do you have a Jimmy Stewart?
No.
Do you want me to put you on the spot? Do you have a Jimmy Stewart?
Do you have one?
No. I mean, no.
Right. No,
so
it's mostly noise like, oh, Mary.
Oh.
Mary.
Mary. I don't know. The American dream.
Oh, man.
Yeah. It was horrible. Let's move on.
We both just did a absolutely wretched recreation of anything Jimmy Stewart ever did.
Yeah, you could also tell someone that was two guys trying to do like a Robin Williams and be like, yeah, I guess that was that.
Right. So old movies play a big part in both of our lives, and do you credit a lot of that to like yourself as an actor, or is it kind of separate in your head?
I've gotten more into old movies since leaving home and like being able to curate my own watch lists, and like that's also how I've gotten more into like horror movies, because my parents were not horror fans, strangely enough. Very wholesome Midwestern folk, so they weren't going to be sitting me down and being like, let's watch the filmography of John Carpenter.
Sure. Still never seen one.
Any John Carpenter movies?
I don't believe so. I don't think horror has not become my realm.
I think, just to plug an underappreciated one, I love In the Mouth of Madness. If someone's looking for a Lovecraftian kind of vibe, that's like late Carpenter, which everyone says is bad, but he's still got some juice.
All right, there we go.
But old movies I really gravitated toward because the DNA of theater is a bit more closely woven into it, where you have a lot of stage actors who are moving into that space, like the Universal monster movie era. You have so many stage actors and stage directors who are just sidestepping over into film and discovering what that medium can do. But there's still a very play-like, as in script-like, that you would see in a stage play quality to them, where the Bela Lugosi Dracula is just an adaptation of a stage play that Bela Lugosi had played. But yeah, that's what I find kind of endearing about that era, where there's so much theater energy.
If Bela Lugosi was still alive today, set aside the fact that he'd be very old, but if he was still in his, say we had a prime Bela Lugosi currently in Hollywood, where do you think he would find a thriving career?
Oh, I don't know, man. Age 24.
A24, you said?
I don't know. It's so hard to transplant those guys into today's market because those actors were so weird and strange, and came from such odd corners, where you would have actors who are discovered in just these strange ways where they're like, I was a carpenter for a few decades, and then some producer walked by and said, I like
Yeah.
your face, and now I'm Cary Grant or
I
whatever.
think he would find a similar vibe that Nick Cage has found.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, Bela Lugosi is, I think, had a very heightened view of himself. He wanted to be very respectable.
yeah.
And then, he passed up playing Frankenstein's monster in Frankenstein because he saw it as kind of beneath him.
Did you ever see Ed Wood?
Yeah. Where it's like Sunset Boulevard, but kind of heartwarming.
Right.
With Bela Lugosi.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think about that shot where he is standing, he's like in a pool and he has to wrestle some sort of ridiculous squid monster thing. And he's like, I was a real actor once. I think about that a lot. I also think about Orson Welles popping up in that movie too.
So good. Vincent D'Onofrio just showing up for like 30 seconds.
It's like the Pinky and the Brain voice that is doing an Orson Welles impersonation, I think. Because it's not Vincent D'Onofrio's voice.
It's not his voice. Like, Vincent D'Onofrio didn't voice it?
He didn't do the voice for Orson Welles. He was like the body, and then I think
Really?
the Pinky and the Brain voice actor, the guy who plays...
I did not know that. They did it perfectly then.
Yeah.
I just figured 90s
there's
Vincent
a lot of
D'Onofrio
shots.
could have a different voice.
There's a lot of shots over his shoulder where, like, you don't have to match up the lips, and then there's a few where...
Oh, interesting.
it's
I would
just
never have
dubbed
guessed
over.
that.
Yeah.
So you brought up that your family wouldn't go the horror route. What's the difference between the way you grew up versus the way you are now, or the way your life operates now?
I really feel you tiptoeing around. Where did it all go wrong, Evan?
What happened to ruin
What happened?
you?
Well, I went on a field trip to school, and there was a spider that came down, which turned out it was radioactive, and it bit me.
And unfortunately, it just led to manic depression.
To manic depressive.
That's what happened to me.
I had that scene that Tobey Maguire has where I fell asleep and I woke up and I was still Peter Parker.
Oh, yeah.
It's like my vision's still terrible.
You got bit by a spider and you woke up as Tobey Maguire.
Woke up as Tobey Maguire. He's had a good career.
Yeah.
He's had an interesting, good career. I wouldn't be angry about waking up as Tobey Maguire.
Right.
I would hope I would be a little more chill about some things, but where was I
Okay,
going?
no. So
My
tell
parents
me
were very wholesome
about your
people. Very supportive, which made me feel like never ever made me feel bad about pursuing creative avenues, about pursuing theater or acting. And because I never really found anything else that captured me the same way as theater, I kept doing that.
Did you grow up in any were you in a religious household?
Yeah. My dad is a pastor. He retired this past year. But yeah, grew up ELCA Lutheran.
ELCA?
Evangelical Lutheran Church of America.
Evangelical Lutheran Church of America.
Yes.
Lutheran.
Yes, Lutheran. And then my grandfather on my mother's side was also a pastor. He was a Methodist pastor. So, yes, grew up Christian household. A lot of pastors.
You're next.
That's the thing. I feel like my parents have been like, acting, right? And then like slowly looking over.
Right,
me
like
going,
seeing like...
just like sliding over brochures for seminaries.
Sure.
I'm sure they would be thrilled if I told them I'm going to go into the seminary. I'm sure they would be thrilled about that, but I've never really entertained that notion.
Do you still align yourself with Lutheranism?
Yeah. I do not chafe against that label at all. It's difficult to imagine my worldview divorced from how my parents raised me. And I understand how, like, a lot of my friends in theater, there's plenty of people who have very fraught relationships with the church because of... God is a, like, parental figure, and that gets tied to your relationship with your parents very naturally. So if you have a fraught relationship with your parents, that's going to get tied up with your relationship with God and with your relationship with the church. So because I do have a good relationship with my parents, it's very easy for me to say I don't chafe against a Christian God.
Right, but then to continue it into adulthood means it has to become personalized.
Yeah.
At some point or other. Did that happen early, late?
Still
waiting?
The Lutheranism has a process called confirmation, and a lot of Christian denominations have something similar where you basically reaffirm your commitment to God. And I did go through that. I memorized a Bible verse. Don't ask me to repeat it. It's totally still in there, but don't ask me to repeat it. I remember the gist of it, but so yeah, I did go through that process. Whenever I would go back home to visit my parents in Wisconsin, I would go to the church that my father's a pastor of, and I would say the prayers. That would still have meaning for me, and I would still say those with conviction. I have not really sought out a church since moving to Chicago as much, probably partially because my father's church is just so tied into my view of Lutheranism.
Where are they? Where is your family?
They're still in Wisconsin for the most part. My brothers, I have two older ones, are in various other parts of the country. One of them has moved back to Wisconsin with his wife and his two sons. And another one is in Texas with his wife and also two sons. A lot of dudes in this family.
Any sisters?
No.
No. How many brothers?
Two brothers,
Okay,
and
two
I have
brothers.
4 nephews.
4 nephews.
My mother
No
is
nieces.
drowning
Wow.
in testosterone.
And they're all there. Some of them are in Texas. Some are in Wisconsin.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
And you moved to Chi-Town.
Yeah, moved to Chi-Town because I didn't want to go to New York or L.A. And Chicago is, I guess it was a bit of a, I'm going to be different and not go to the obvious theater city, which is New
Sure.
York. But Chicago also has this like blue collar, roll up your sleeves, spit and blood work ethic going on.
I really do love the grit of Chicago.
Yeah.
I kind of like shamelessly prefer it there over any other big city.
Yeah, where I think I'm going to say this about New York, having never done anything with the New York theater scene, where there's the idea of like you're working your way to Broadway, and Broadway is a very kind of spectacle and glamorous kind of
What do you tell
thing.
people when they ask you if you're trying when you're going to get to Broadway?
I laugh and change the subject.
You got a lot of family doing that?
I mean, not really. I mean, my folks will do a kind of joking nudge, like, well, you'll get a Tony one day or whatever.
Right, like as if that's the only
Yeah.
direction. And it's not like I get those kinds of questions a good amount, and I'm never offended. I'm never like upset at anybody showing interest.
Why
it's
would
like,
I? Yeah.
You're showing interest. I don't like. I'm sure when I ask you about your life as a mechanical engineer that you have to like translate everything I say.
When's
into
that Nobel Peace Prize coming, huh?
It's like a grandpa asking like when you're gonna build your first bridge, and it's like that's not the only thing that engineers do, Grandpa.
Yeah.
I'm sure that it's the same way. I certainly have people asking me questions where I kind of have to like translate how to answer them in a way that someone not in the industry will understand.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes sense because everyone kind of thinks they know what an actor is and what an actor does.
So what is an actor? What does an actor do?
You know, Hunter, I think an actor is someone who
All right, guys, we are out of time.
exists truthfully in given circumstances.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Forgot what textbook I got that out of.
Yeah. So it's odd how much I relate to you on so many things that you just
Music
said.
to my ears. It's odd how much.
It's unfortunate how much
you're
I
like people.
I did also grow up in a very loving home. I don't think my career as an actor came from like a traumatic source all that much. I think we all face certain levels of difficulties and trauma in life, maybe lowercase t trauma in that can be put in a lot of areas. However, I came from a very loving family. My dad is also a pastor. My dad was a pastor. My parents passed away, but my dad was a pastor, and he was always trying to get me to go to seminary, and he was always trying to get me to follow in his footsteps. And I do help out at church, and I help out where I can, but I never really felt called to that direction in life.
That's the thing that always kept me out of seminary, where my thought was I feel like I would be good at being a pastor, but I feel like you would want a pastor who felt called, and that was the only thing that they could do.
Yeah, the public speaking alone isn't gonna cut it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd have to discover like a whole new brand of humility in order to go that direction in a healthy way.
Yeah. Okay. What denomination were you raised?
Non-denom.
Non-denom.
So just like kind of similar to Baptists.
Okay.
But without having like the Baptist Constitution or whatever. Like, so we weren't part of any sort of, it was just like individual churches that my dad would lead.
Okay. Was there like one church that he was?
So several of the years he was a big church planter, which for anybody who doesn't know is like a term just describing someone who wants to go start new churches and start them from the ground up. Usually they're in a building that you would buy, or a lot of people start as home churches, and then that grows. And once you get enough people, you get a building. His most recent church plant was in Sharon, Wisconsin. Shout out the Old Bell Tower Church. The Old Bell Tower Church is in Sharon, Wisconsin. It's a couple years old. It's actually, I think it's 5 years old now. He started it during COVID.
Wow.
He was everybody was closing up, and he was like, "Time to start a church."
All this real estate that's opened up.
Right.
Do you carry that energy with? I mean, I know you have like two separate theater groups that you kind of had. You have Silverstage and you have neurotic players. So
neurotic players?
Neurotic players.
Neoteric players, but yeah.
All right, sure. Do you carry that energy? Do you think that's something that you may have picked up from your dad?
Like the church planting energy, but transferring that over to into the way that I'm always starting things?
Yeah, or... Yeah.
Yeah, I can't...
Doing artistic administration.
Sure. Not
a thing a lot of people always like doing.
Right. I think I saw an interview from Jason Alexander. And Jason Alexander plays George Costanza in Seinfeld. He was saying that everybody's asking like how you make it in film or theater. And his response to everybody is, go do it. Go do the thing that you want to happen. If I want to see Much Ado About Nothing in this area... where we're like a good hour and 15 minutes outside of Chicago.
Do I know it.
In Lake Geneva, Wisconsin, where, yes, there's a lot of people, but no, there's no Shakespeare. If I want to see that happen, then I can be the one to go organize that and put together a crew and do auditions and cast people and get the funding and get the sponsorships. And yeah, it's a million things all at once, such as do a podcast and get the word out, but also... all of these things have to be tied to something I love, or else it would drive me crazy. So if I want to get the word out, if I want to do something like that, then might as well do it in a way that I will enjoy, such as human connection. Unfortunately, I got you on for the first episode.
Yeah,
so
I am an android of a human being.
Right. The human connection is going to have to wait till episode 2.
When we get anyone else.
When we get any real human being.
I find that there's the old adage, if you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life, which is not true.
It's not true at all.
Not true. If you love what you do...
It sounds nice, I guess.
It does sound nice. If you love what you do, you're still working, you just don't mind it as much. So I find if I'm like serving drinks, if I'm doing it in a cafe, I might hate it, but if I'm doing it in a theater and it's a dinner show kind of vibe, I'm like, this is fine. I feel okay about this. My knees still hurt, and I'm still like making fun of customers behind their backs.
Sure.
If any of my managers are listening, I've never done that a day in my life. Hunter edited that in.
Right.
But yeah, you mind it less. Has anything about this ADing, artistic director-ing, I'm making it a verb, has anything about that process surprised you?
Has it surprised me?
Yeah, or did you always know, all right, it's going to be a lot of work and there's going to be a lot of things that I won't anticipate?
Sure. I think the only way to not skirt around the edges on this is to dive head on, which is the fact that I'm now running the entire company, but I was running it with my dad. Mm-hmm. So my dad and I started the company together. He passed away, and now I'm running the whole thing, which comes with so many things I hadn't ever considered. The whole point of that paired partnership was that he would handle the business side, that he would handle the financial side, that he would be the one to talk to those people and communicate with investors and with our accountant, and that he would be handling that side of the business. And now I am. And now I'm just getting really good at emails and phone calls. And yeah, it's a lot of work. But I don't regret any of it. I don't regret doing any of it. Like I said, it's just a lot of planning. I don't know. I don't know if there's many surprises as much as I don't know when to get any sleep. Which is fun. I do miss I haven't done gigs in a bit here. This kind of takes up all my time. Mm-hmm. So I'm planning on doing a show this summer with another company and like squeezing that in there. And if it happens, then great. If it doesn't, that's kind of life. I did live in Chicago and I don't anymore. I miss doing all these different gigs and jumping from one thing to the next. And at any given month, I'm at the end of the process for one show. I'm filming a short film at this other place, and I'm at the beginning of a read through for another show. And everything's always at different stages of the process. I think I miss that, but I don't miss the lack of financial stability in that. So,
yeah, not having money isn't great. How do you feel about film versus stage acting?
Film, in my experiences, have been very painstaking and slow. And, like, I'm sitting around a lot and just kind of waiting for anything to happen. I've never been the person running a film project before. So usually I get to just show up as an actor, and I sit and I wait till I'm needed. And then I show up and I'm given zero direction, and then I do a thing. And that's not a diss on film people not giving direction. It's just a whole other world.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a film director who speaks actor, that's kind of like extra credit for them. That's not the default, where stage directors, it's very difficult to find a stage director that doesn't know how to speak actor.
Right.
Because so much of it is about the actor on stage, because the actor is going to be your editor, and it's an actor's medium, as opposed to film, which is so many things all mixed into a stew. It's about the camera placement, it's about the music.
How have your film experiences been?
I haven't done too much of it, just because I have gravitated towards stage acting more than film acting. Because of what you said, it's a lot of sitting around, and then you'll do it a few times, and then the director will say, like, okay, we found it. And I'll be like, oh, I was like in rehearsal brain the entire time.
Right.
I think I forgot to act during any of those takes. Yeah. And the director is like, I don't know, he's making faces, he's saying lines. Yeah. It looks like I have like 50 shots I have to get in. We're moving on. I think I got what I needed.
It's kind of eye-opening to see, like, if you're not in like actor brain mode, and you're purely coming in as a viewer or as a creator in that way, then you're not necessarily paying attention to the intricate details of how am I contorting my face. Yeah. Half the people in the room aren't noticing anything that I'm choosing to do. Mm-hmm. My favorite part of film process is, like, I have to give it all in that moment because it's my only chance.
It's the opening and closing night. Yeah.
It's opening and closing night.
That's what it's going to be forever.
Yeah. So that's like thrilling, but it's thrilling for like those 3 minutes that you're shooting, and then that's surrounded by 8 hours on either end, sitting around waiting for those 3 minutes to come. So that's where, I lean towards stage acting. We'll see. We'll see if it goes a different direction.
Yeah. I should give it more of a shot, but yeah, I've always gravitated toward stage acting just because there is that promise of we'll try it again tomorrow night, and we'll see what the performance becomes then.
Yeah. Well, I have a question for you to wrap up today, and that question is something that I prepared ahead of time.
Wow.
Yeah.
We started this conversation on such a rocky foot. I was like, oh, no. I'm going to be yes-anding a lot.
You ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hit me.
Patrick Stewart you any of his roles. If you could take any Patrick
Is this
Stewart,
a haiku? What is this?
if you could take any Patrick Stewart role
If I
and
could take any Patrick Stewart
and
role.
bring it to the stage, what would it be?
That doesn't already live on stage?
Correct.
I mean, I guess I should say Jean-Luc Picard just because I have such a personal history with it, but I don't know if I want to see a stage play version of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I don't know what that would look like. I think it would just be the bridge and
Sure.
a lot of standing up and sitting down, which I guess is a lot of Shakespeare history plays, which I like, but he did a movie called Green Room a few years back with Anton Yelchin, rest in peace. A quick nod to the J.J. Abrams rebooted Star Trek movies again. Everything's
go.
tying back together. He plays the lead in that. Patrick Stewart plays
not in Star Trek.
Anton
yeah.
Anton Yelchin played Chekhov, but in Green Room he plays the lead of this. It's a punk band goes off to
Patrick Stewart's the villain.
Patrick Stewart's the villain. I think that could be that'd be an interesting.
That'd be a pretty epic show.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting thing to try to adapt into either a stage play or a radio play, something like that.
I think my answer is the Emoji Movie. Patrick Stewart plays the poop emoji.
He really
and
does.
I think that should be adapted to the stage, and I will gladly take on the role of the poop emoji.
Hey, this is a post-Minecraft world. Anything's possible.
Right. Lava chicken. All right. Thank you for being here, Evan. So glad that you're our first guest on SilverPod, and maybe I'll see you around one of these days, maybe at rehearsal.
Yeah, I would hope so.
You never know. All right.
Back to you in the studio.
Bye.
We did it, Joe. Right as the sun crawls in.